Ana is one of the most versatile supports in Overwatch 2 when played correctly, but her power can be easily countered when played in vulnerable positions. In order to avoid dying off cooldown, let's review some of the most common mistakes you are going to make against every hero in the game. Starting off with D.va, the big mistake you will make against her is being trigger happy. She has 4 seconds of defense matrix. You can get around this by taking multiple angles throughout the fight in an attempt to give her an ultimatum of which one she has to cover. Against Doomfist, you will be allocating your sleep to him frequently. Make sure, however, that you don't just sit around him and wait for him to wake up. Instead, get a healthy distance away, making you harder to kill. The worst thing you can do against a Junkerqueen is get close to her and let her axe hit you. So stay a safe distance away and make sure you dodge her knife so she can't pull you in. Stop nading Orisa when she has full health and gold. This is the #1 thing holding lower leveled players back. Wait out for that CD and then counter her afterwards. Ramattra is the easiest tank to nade in the game. However, people are usually a bit too aggressive and nade too early. Wait for him to put down his shield and push past in, allowing you to look for the nade. Otherwise, you'll miss your nade and you will get run over. Avoid staying on the same level as Reinhardt. This will make it difficult to hit nades and easier to get run on. Look for different angles instead to make him easier to nade as well as his team. This will also help you avoid getting cleaved by his hammer. You counter Roadhog the hardest in the game. I'd be so bold to say that Ana was literally made to counter this character. The mistake you can make is simply not looking at him or wasting a nade before he gets pressured. You want to make sure that you hit the nade to actually counter his heal instead of just looking for it too early. Against Sigma, make sure that you don't stay out in the open for too long. This will make it easier for his team to gun you down. Instead, play off of corners to create opportunities for your team after he uses his grasp and his shield. Many people think against Winston you should play a sniper grandma and sit as far away as possible. However, in most situations, especially in ladder, you want to try and stay close to your team so they can actually help you. This isn't always true in the highest level of play, but for most people, this is the first step. Wreckingball is similar to Winston, however, make sure you use your sleep dart to immobilize him after he slams so that he can't kill you for free. This pressure alone will also help you avoid death and make him think twice before slamming. Avoid sending nades without thinking into a Zarya. Using your grenade to force bubbles is not the end of the world. However, if your team uses a Graviton Surge against an enemy Zarya, make sure you take a second to force out her bubbles first before sending in the nade. Starting off with the DPS though, avoid scoping into the Ashe 1v1. On top of this, don't waste sleep when she has Bob active, and wait out for a bubble if they have a Zarya so you can sleep it after that as well. Against Bastion, the worst thing you can do is ignore him, especially since that is what a lot of people do in lower ranks for some reason. Try to allocate your sleep dart to him when he enters his sentry cooldown to make up for your teammates' mistakes. Ever since his HP nerf, you don't have to be super scared of Cassidy anymore. You can play to duel him, but don't make the mistake of swinging on him when he still has his magnetic grenade online. Against Echo, the main goal is to keep your team above half HP at all times. This will help them avoid the beam doing massive damage. This is one of the only situations that you can actually use your nade to keep people up. In other situations, this is a mistake though. Make sure, just like against Pharah, you are playing to force Echo out frequently to make your life easier as well as your team. Genji's blade can be either really easy to hit or really hard, and it all depends on your approach. Many players tend to send out the sleep a little bit too early, causing it to be incredibly hard to hit. Instead, avoid this by waiting until the Genji dashes into you and then sleep him as he dashes. This will make it so that he dashes into your sleep instead of around you. The biggest mistake you can make against a Hanzo or really any sniper in the game is to hard scope him in his LOS. Just look how easy it is to kill you. Play far away from Junkrat so that he cannot combo you. Also, make sure that you don't make the mistake of being afraid of his tire. It is only a shot nade combo from being destroyed in the right situation. Mei is similar to Reinhardt. Make sure that you play in areas where she cannot get to you. Constantly think about when she has cryo freeze as well, as this will cleanse your anti-nade effect and make you lose out on free kills. Don't waste sleep when Pharah has barrage. On top of this, understand that you don't necessarily need to kill her, rather you need to pressure her out of the sky. This will significantly deteriorate her uptime to get you a lot of value. Reaper can be a formidable foe up close, but possibly the most important mistake players make is mistiming sleep dart out of his teleport. Make sure that you have the patience to let the cooldown go through. This will allow you extra time to escape when he tries to force you out on the high ground. A lot of players have not been talking about it recently, but Sojourn can actually be a pretty powerful nano target in the right hands. Don't be afraid to combo this with overclock. Holding on to nano is worse than pulling the trigger after all. Against Soldier, make sure you take your nade with you into the 1v1. 9 times out of 10, he will have his healing station ready to go, forcing you to hit 4 to 5 shots in a row to win the 1v1 instead of the normal 3 with nade. Sombra is one of the main reasons the Sniper Grandma playstyle does not work into Winston. She has a very easy time finding you and eliminating you quickly if you do not stick around your team. Try and tell them to spot check in between fights to find her when she is invisible to give you some breathing room as well. Symmetra's wall makes it incredibly difficult to get things done as Ana. Sure, you can tell your team to play on one side or the other, but the real mistake is failing to act quickly after she uses her ultimate. Right when the Sim walls, look to invest ultimates immediately after to take them by surprise. Usually Sim is surrounded by a brawly core, so nanoing your tank can sometimes stop the push immediately, especially if you have Reinhardt. If you are playing into a Torb, you want to make sure that you are breaking his turret, especially if you have flankers or a lack of hit scans. This will alleviate a lot of pressure off of your team and carry games if you play correctly after. Being scared of Tracer is a huge mistake a lot of players make. Remember that 2 shots kill her right now. This means that you can force her out with just one simple shot, allowing you to be much more aggressive throughout the fight. Just make sure that you have a teammate to keep you safe when taking the 1v1 and you don't use both your nade and sleep dart, as that is a common cue to take you out shortly thereafter. Just like Hanzo, for the love of Aaron Keller, do not peek Widow while hard scoping. Look for opportunities to quick scope off of her angles during rotations to open up the map for your team instead. The way you get outplayed by another Ana resides mostly within your use of the anti-grenade. Do not play passive against her. Make sure you look for more aggressive purples so that she has to play more passive and hope her team carries through. Baptiste's immortality field can be pretty annoying to go up against, but understand that you have things you can do against it. If you didn't already use it, you can use nade to get lots of value since a lot of people will stack anyways. The big mistake here is playing passive with your nade against a character that relies heavily off of a huge burst heal potential. Do not get up close and personal with a Brigitte without your team's help. She is killable, don't get me wrong, but it is more important that you win the 1v1 alive instead of killing yourself for it. Kiriko is a loaded question. The worst mistake you can make is to throw your anti-grenade just for it to not be followed up by your team, thus not forcing out Suzu. I have an entire video dedicated to this matchup, so make sure you check that out if you're curious about the topic. Lifeweaver sucks, and the worst mistake you can make is playing him, to be quite honest. Aside from that though, don't be afraid to take shots at him to force him out and even use his pedal platforms from time to time. Giving him space to actually do something is a throw. Don't 1v1 Lucio unless you have your grenade. On top of this, understand that he will likely play to speed his core onto you, so don't play in places near your tank all of the time or else you'll get run over. Against Mercy, never 1v1 her pocket unless they are low after you dish out an anti-nade effect. These 1v1s are virtually unwinnable and not worth the high risk of death. Like most other supports, do not 1v1 Moira when you do not have nade. Try to force out her fade first, but if you play otherwise, you will likely die. And finally, against Zenyatta, do not use your nade early in the fight if you aren't going to get significant value with it while he has Transcendence. Instead, in this instance, you can actually look to get aggressive with Sleep to force his Transcendence and then look to counter it after with your nade. That wraps up all of the mistakes for Ana. There are a lot of creative things you can do on this character, but there's also a lot of specific things you want to avoid too. Make sure you catch up on the Rank Up Fast Guide with Ana here on the channel, as well as the complete Unranked to GM. But until next time, I've got to peace out and Paz out. I'll see you in the next one.